oftentimes most people call me Lou. Director of Basketball Development with Ontario Basketball, and I just want to say thank you for coming this morning. I know that schedules are very busy all year round. I always start with thanking the parents for their investment in their children's development, because it's you that's doing the driving and and don't forget to thank them as well, okay? All right, so I'm just going to run through about half an hour or less with Agnes on an overview of what the targeted athlete strategy is. Essentially, about 7 years ago, we started with an application with the CSIO and in collaboration with the provincial ministry in Ontario, trying to apply for what's called the Ontario High Performance Sport Initiative. So essentially that's funding that's put in to help athletes who are about 5 to 7 years out from a potential national team opportunity. And so that meant that we were going to collaborate with our NSO, Canada Basketball, as well as the Canadian Sport Institute of Ontario, who employs various experts, one of which is our nutritionist, Melissa, that you'll hear from later. Ed, I believe, just did a tour with you with the S&C. And Megan, I'm not sure if you've met her. She was there as well, so she's our medical therapy. So essentially, it's a team of people working towards the holistic development of our young athletes. So that's in the basketball specific, the nutrition, the strength and conditioning, and the medical preventative, as well as back-end therapy if there's an injury. So that's a little bit of the history. So you always want to start out with the why. Why are you doing this? Why are you here today? Essentially, the TAS program is to target individual training and to maximize the individual's athlete's strengths and weaknesses. So they're playing on a lot of club teams. They might be with Team Ontario, but oftentimes we get focused on the team environment and the outcome of that team, and maybe we don't spend as much time as what is the athlete's strengths and weaknesses, and how are we going to work with that athlete so that she improves those gaps. So this is more individualized. Again, like I said, with the partnership with CSIO and Canada Basketball, this is about providing resources to our targeted athletes all year round to be a high-performing person. And so Agnes will talk a little bit more about how it's a staged approach. For our younger athletes, it's more about the nutritional education, but as they move through the TAS program, they get into the kitchen, they do education hands-on with snacks. The third years will do meal prep. And so it's sort of a staged approach to try and assist the athlete in taking on more high-performance behaviors. Maximize your potential. And I said to attain the highest level of achievement possible. And so for Agnes, her highest possible attainment might be different than Mike's. But we're here to help you achieve your specific highest level of attainment, whether that is post-secondary with scholarship, whether that's age group national teams, development senior, whether that's professional, we couldn't do it domestically, but a lot of our athletes are in Europe and so on and so forth. So really looking at what's that long term. You're at age 15 right now. We're gonna, no. 13. What? So we're going to look at, for you, what's that long-term range for you, and what do we need to do between here and way out here to get you there? Honestly, so the opportunity to, one, represent your province and or your country. So for the age group national teams, that would be our under 16 or under 18, so the cadet and junior. One thing I do like to point out with parents is that the age group swaps every second year. So it's U16 one year for the cadet, but then it's U17 for the following year. So when we're competing in the Americas, it's the 16. When we go to the World Cup, it's the 17. And so that's a little bit confusing for parents and kids, because one year the cutoff is this, and then the next, so my kid makes the roster, and then the next year it flips and maybe my kid doesn't make the roster. So it's important to understand the whole picture there, so that it's not, oh, we made it this year, we got cut, so we're done. It's how do we support our pool of athletes through these age switches throughout the long-term growth and development. So here we have just a picture. So to star the Ontario athletes who came through the TAS program that represented this summer on our cadet. And then on the junior, you'll see the red and yellow as the TAS OSBA. And then you'll see the red-blue, which is athletes that might have come in from outside of Ontario that competed in the OSBA. So some of those are nationally targeted athletes who also participate in the large pods here in Ontario. And that's really a collaboration between us and Canada Basketball. So just highlighting, since we've been doing this in 2011, I believe, some of the athletes that have come through the TAS program that are now actually representing on our senior women's national team. Oftentimes it starts with sort of a staged approach where the athlete's coming into different phases of training and may not be going to compete, but again, it's how do we bring that athlete in so that they're competing with the top level athletes, and that staged approach to eventually getting them on the roster where we're going and competing. Now, I think when we did this high performance plan in 2011, we were seeing, just by population-wise, a lot of Ontario athletes representing on Canadian teams. But what we were looking at was the quality of their competition when they got to the international stage. And that's really where we've started to talk with the experts about the sport nutrition and the building the body, strength and conditioning-wise. We don't want to just put them on the team. We want them to be able to go and represent internationally and be ready to compete at a level with the top women in the world. So here's what looks like a very convoluted pathway, and I say convoluted because it is. And the kids are living through it, and the parents are living through it. So this is just Ontario basketball programming. There's also other things outside of that in the environment. Okay, so that's why you see all these arrows, because oftentimes it's not just the kid comes in at Ontario Basketball League or Ontario Cup and then goes to our development programs and then comes through our CP and finds themselves in TAS. Now we're in an environment where lots of parents and kids are choosing different avenues. So it's not a linear pathway. But this is sort of a representation of if you were to come through Ontario basketball programming, some of the things you would go through on your way to becoming the highest performing athlete in Ontario. So for our younger athletes, you're in the provincial team. So I just watched you compete last week in BC. 2. Oh my gosh, that's why I said you were 14. Oh my gosh, and I'm talking right to you. Can you tell your sister everything I said here today? Okay, so for a lot of the younger athletes, their first experience provincially now with us has been with our U14 team this past summer, or our U15 team. And so now out of that, we've said with the national level program, we'd like to target you because we think that you have the potential to represent Canada at one of our age group national teams. So that's why you're here today. So now some of us have been in TAS and OSBA already, so you might be a little farther along here. But essentially, that's sort of a representation of the pathway that you'd go through. And at this point, I'm going to hand it off to Miss Agnes Borg, our Ontario technical lead.
So to finish with the pathway, I want to talk about I would like to explain to you what the year looks like for an high-performance athlete. Just figure out sometime we are on our program and we have no idea, what's going on. And so the most important for sure, your daughter is still at school, so she has all this academic with exam, with stress, sometimes some tutoring to do it. To accomplish, the best that we can be, in a school to get the next step. So I, as an high-performance athlete, almost of our targeted athletes has been a part of OSBA League. So that means is OSBA league is, a school prep, so it's from September to June, all school. But, the competition is September to March. So your daughter, doing, the strength conditioner, they're doing, the properly, we try to implant on the school the nutrition. They're doing, the IPP in the morning, individual skills, and also the team practice. So we have incorporated in OSBA the regional pod where we will work in collaboration with the coach, and I will explain what it is later on. But it's a part of a practice, so we don't want to overload. So they have 2 large pods during this period, where I will explain what's TAS large pod. And also, for an high performance, and if you are tall, we have a specific session for tall players that will run 4 times in a year. They are for sure, if your daughter is selected for Canada basketball, they will have an assessment camp in December and also in March. At the end of the high school, the league, they will have the All-Star Showcase. So this is in September, March. After March, they still continue, the IPP and strength conditioner and team practice with the head coach in OSBA, or sometimes they're not on the program yet because they're young, and you're still doing, some dual prep or high school basketball, but they're doing, almost the same thing. In March, now it's the AU team. So we have a lot of programs going on now, and last year was really just brand new. So you have Kia Nurse Elite, you have Canada Elite, you have Uplay, we have A-Game, maybe I forget some. And a lot of competition is a lot exposure, a lot travel, right? So what I want you, and also if your daughter will be selected for the next step, they will have some competition, maybe in June, with a national team for the cadet, because it's more for the cadet for you if they're selected. And also we have Team Ontario. So Team Ontario, we will try to work with the other program, how we can do. We need to meet each other. Why are we doing that? When I say that, because it's a lot for your daughter. It's a lot. And your daughter will be heavily solicited. As a parent, you need to know, okay, what is the best program for my daughter? And just follow up. But what's happening is they have, you choose the program, and after you have, an individual coach coming and just say, hey, can you come to my camp? I have a camp. I say, okay, well, I can progress, and I understand. And you are parents, you're on a scholarship. So, let's go to the camp. And an individual coach, I can talk to you, I can work on your shot, yes, you can be better. Oh, let's go, it's free? Oh, yeah, for sure it's free. An high performance athlete. Yeah, okay, let's go. So we talk about, they're still at school. So we talk about evening, and we talk about weekends, right? So I think as parents, we have a certain responsibility. And I know that you want to support your daughter, but what I'm concerned right now is really the recovering for your daughter. The sleeping, how you fuel your body, how the hydration is something like you can support your daughter. You can continue to work with all IST and sports science, try to implant and educate to your daughter. You need to, demand it, and you need to remind them. I think this one is a really great support for them. But to support them to do everything is not a good thing. Why? Because, your daughter, she is in a high school now, right? The career, they still have 4 years university in blue, and you have the career professional because she's in higher performance, she loves basketball, she will do basketball. So, and you see, at the end, I think they're doing, pretty good job. I don't know who did this slide, but the training volume, that we need to know, what they can do, every week, and, like 12 or 18 hours or 20 or 22 hours when you arrived in development. I suggest to you to support your athlete, just set a calendar with your daughter and just, mention, how many hours you spend time. Okay, just doing that. Okay, we have showcase. Can we doing 3? Can we doing 2? I know showcase is amazing. I don't want to say no to a showcase. And if you choose to do an AU program, okay, just doing AU program, but just write travel 10 hours to coming back. School next day, wake up at 5 o'clock in the morning. So you need to be careful about that. And sometimes is nothing wrong to just say, you know what, this weekend, my daughter, she's tired. And we have a rest. Or on the calendar at the beginning of the season, just write something with the family. Just write something with the friends, okay? Because they need to be a kids. Kids go really quick, right? So, and when you see that, we're afraid, and the science just told everything, that they really, one, burn out. When they arrive to university, they say, you know what, Dad, I don't want to do basketball anymore. I'll say, I invested for you. I pay everybody like ding, 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 to get your thing. But you know what? I'm really burnt out. And I can give you an example today. I have someone in a team Ontario this summer. She was burnt out. She was 14 years old. And she didn't understand the why, because as he says, you don't know what's happening. So it's very important to manage the time. So if you want to support, and this reason I want to insist with this one, sorry, but because I think all the program that we try to do is implant sleeping, recovering, and they will talk and repeat it, and it's something as parents you need to support too. Please. Okay, what it is, the targeted athletes. So we talk about the centralized CSIO camp. So here's what they're going to do this weekend, where they're doing, all the testing. We want to evaluate your daughter and explain, what they need to work on. They have, some nutrition education for parents, for you guys, and, for the athletes. And also, they will have, all, what they try to do is all the technique that build the body around, not the basketball, but to be stronger, to prevent from injury. So it's very important. And we have a stage for that. Like, I don't want to repeat what Lou told, and, like everybody, all the highest will be repeat during this weekend. But this centralized CSR camp is a very important one. We have all experts working for your daughter. So it's amazing. So we have, in terms of basketball, we talk about the regional pod that is integrated in OSBA. So what the regional pod is really the recruitment of the region where we work with targeted athletes. And is incorporated in the practice from the OSBA. So we have like 5, we identified 5 in this region, where we have one in Ottawa, Niagara, GTA South, and the North, and the Southwest. So here's where, we work more on the basketball skills, but also remind them, all the program that they receive it from the CSIO at the CSI camp, if they're doing like the pre-ab, the rehab, the cool down, if the LC, and we talk to the coaches. Can you just remind them what they're doing? So try to work everybody like together, and also we try to be in alignment with Canada Basketball, what they want to be accomplished during the summer. And we work with IPP, that is very important, is individual performance plan, that they receive it, not only on the basketball, but they have everything that they need to work on, a strength conditioner, on a health, on social, emotional, and mental, like the 4 pillars that Canada Basketball taking place for the gold medal profile. So is really remind, and it's a touch base with the athletes is what we want to do. So it's more basketball and remind what they're supposed to do. So here's the regional pod is for. So they will have some with expert as me, as Mike McKay, as Canada Basketball, and other coaches, OSBA coach, that they have huge knowledge too, where we can work all together. and just to speak the same language. So it's what we try to do. Bingo. So also what we want to do on the goals is really the first is connection. So see if we have a problem. And because in OSBA, almost of the part of our athlete live in OSBA, so we try to talk about what they're doing on a training environment. Periodization is what I talked to you. Where are you burn out? What, it's a question what we need to have with athletes. And sometimes we will send some video that, my roles as a technical lead here is to see almost of the games, almost I can see all, but some games in OSBA and just try to put some video what we need to work on. And sometimes is the IPP, so I will see, the athletes play, and they say, well, what you doing? So maybe some detail that almost all the time is relate with the high performance and the gold medal with Canada basketball. So always remind them, okay, you play in OSBA, but if you want to play international, here's what you need to do. Here's when you need to build the body. You need to do your strength. Here you didn't feel it, but if you play internationally, here's what you want to do. You need to work on your nutrition and to work to eat properly. You need to eat right. So it's everything like we need to repeat and repeat. And you, parents, help us, just remind them. Please don't give a pop to the too many pop. No, just we drink water, right? It's better, it's less expensive. Practice with the 4 pillars is what we talk. 2 minutes, 2 more minutes. That's good. Okay. So the large pod is where the IST. So you visit downstairs a little bit. What they can do. So we have an example what we want to do. So we switch a little bit. So in the morning is a basketball specific where we work with is centralized. So all athletes are together. And is where we work with more action and offensively and defensively. What's happening in a camp and during the camp in Canada. So we prepare them for eventual camp and to the high performance and to play internationally. Also, so what we have this year, where we try to do the therapy, so we talk about sleep recovery. So they have, different stage where your daughter has. So we have 3 groups: the youngest, 2003 and 2004 and 5. So where we work about, education first and nutrition, education first in therapy. What is recovering, how you travel, what you can do. And the year after is more, practical, how you adaptable, like everything that you learn. And after you have, this year we try to use the material that we have in CSIO. That is amazing because they use that for the Olympian. So I think it's very beneficial to have, to be there and to do all the course. And on the nutrition, I think she will talk soon, but it's very important on the year 1, education again. Year 2 is a stagnable, what you're doing half an hour before the competition, before, the practice, after the practice, and how you refuel the body. So it's very important. And the year, the third is, how you prepare yourself, your meal. Stop to you need to monitoring them, but you need to let them to be, because soon they go to university and they need to know, what they can do, what they need to buy it, what they need to cook, and what the good things to do as high performance athlete. It's very important. So, and we have, all these people that are responsible, probably we forgot, Mike from Canada Basketball, Megan will be there, and I think we met downstairs, and Melissa, she's here. I think I'm finished. Yeah. So what the role of athletes is, what is very important for them, it's to be present and to be involved. Okay, it's very important. And what really the program is in big picture is we tracking and monitoring your daughter. As with all the 4 pillars. Here's what we're doing all the time. We are not here to give, all everything. OSBA or the coaches, they practice with them, they compete with them, But us, our principal role is to monitoring them. Did you do the right things to become an high-performance athlete? And I will finish probably with that. So do we have a question? Are you confused or clear? Or? Okay.